Hello, welcome to another episode of the Bubbs on Sports podcast. Today is Monday, April 1st. It is the day after opening weekend in the MLB. Opening day was on Thursday. Games continued throughout the rest of the weekend into Friday, Saturday, and of course yesterday. If you're a New York Yankee fan waking up today, you are fired up as the New York Yankees not only go into Houston and win the series, they go into Houston and sweep the Houston Astros 4-game series, get the job done with a sweep. The New York Yankees are one of four teams, rather, in the MLB that remain undefeated with a 4-0 record. The other teams are the Tigers, the Brewers, and the Pittsburgh Pirates. So two teams in the NL Central, two teams in the American League come out of this weekend undefeated. We'll get to the Yankees to open up today's show. We'll also discuss the Mets and their poor weekend at Citi Field with a lot of drama, the Rhys Hoskins, Jeff McNeil situation. We'll discuss all that. But man, what a weekend it was for the New York Yankees. We'll also get into some of the March Madness stuff as well as the Final Four is set, ready to go. That will begin on Saturday. So little by little here, the March Madness is coming to a close, but we've still got 3 big basketball games left as we will see who can take home the national championship in college basketball. The story of NC State continues. They will face Purdue, and of course UConn will face Nate Oates and Alabama on Saturday as well. So 11 seed versus a 1 seed, 4 seed versus a 1 seed. So a little bit of variety there. Obviously Purdue and UConn, the 2 1 seeds, and NC State, what a run it's been for them. They will look to continue this run. Burns, what a story he's been. The big man for NC State. So a lot of good stories here as March Madness will continue later on this week on Saturday evening. We got to start with baseball, though, and we got to start with the New York Yankees. Now, as you know, if you watched it, if you haven't checked it out, definitely go check it out. Yankees series recap, Yankees Astros is up on the channel. As always, please like and subscribe. Appreciate the support all the time. I uploaded that. That is up on YouTube. It's breaking down each of the 4 games. I'm going to do a Yankees series recap after pretty much every series this season, just about all of them, as many as I can do. So that is up on YouTube. Discussed a lot of the Yankees today. We'll break down more Yankees baseball because can't get enough of it. It's been great. This weekend was awesome. And, you go into this weekend as a Yankee fan, and you kind of wonder, all right, well, how are they going to come out? How are they going to look? You go into Houston, it's a tough task, right? The way the schedule broke for the New York Yankees, it wasn't easy. These first 7 games going into it, they weren't going to be easy. First of all, it's 7 straight games. A lot of times you see teams play Thursday opening day, then get the day off Friday, and then play Saturday, Sunday, and then depending on how the rest of the schedule plays out, potentially play Monday, get the day off, go Tuesday. Either way, the Yankees' schedule broke in a little bit of a tougher way. They had to go on the road for their first 7 games. They had to play 7 games in a row. 4 of them on the road in Houston against a very good Astros team that has had our number over the last couple years. And then they also have to go now to Arizona to play 3 against the National League champions last year in the Arizona Diamondbacks, who got to the World Series, of course, lost to the Texas Rangers. So the way you were looking at this schedule to start, you were thinking to yourself, all right, maybe you split against Houston, you take 3 of 4, you go into Arizona, let's say win the series, all right, you feel good about it. But then you come in here, you go into Houston, you sweep the Houston Astros, and now you go to Arizona with all the confidence in the world. You loved what you saw out of this team in these opening 4 games Thursday through Sunday. And man, what a time it is to be a Yankee fan. This weekend was amazing. I don't think we've had this much fun watching baseball in a very long time that we saw this weekend. Like, this weekend was the most fun I think Yankee fans, myself included, have had watching this team in a long time. I mean, last year when they went to Houston and they swept the Astros with Jason Dominguez and Austin Wells making their debut, that was awesome, but that was towards the end of the season. We knew playoffs were a pipe dream at that point. It would have took a miracle. This year's different. You got Juan Soto. You finished 82-80 last year. You went out and got the big fish. You brought in Verdugo. You also added Stroman to the mix. You brought in guys that bring some energy to this locker room, bring a level of confidence that this team needed, bring something that this locker room has been missing. This locker room needed a kick in the butt. They needed a little bit of a kind of those type of attitudes where there's that confidence, there's that energy, the Soto shuffle, what Verdugo brings to the table. Obviously, very known with the Yankee-Red Sox rivalry. Stroman as well. Kind of in a way, all the past off-the-field stuff with the Yankees, he wanted to come here. He wanted to be a Yankee. He wanted to put himself in the spotlight, and he was great on Saturday night, and he'll get a chance to be electric on Friday afternoon in the home opener against the Toronto Blue Jays. Everything about this weekend was great for the Yankees. And Juan Soto is special, man. He is special. I mean, that guy, watching him, right? You know, you watch him with the Nationals, you see him with San Diego. You've seen him a lot. Of course, I watched that entire 2019 World Series, so you saw a lot of what he was able to bring to the table, and, of course, had a huge series to propel the Nationals over the Astros in 7 games. But, you know, we've seen a little bit of Soto here and there, right? We all know he's a generational talent, but I'd be lying to you if I said I watched every single Padres game last year, and if I would be lying to you if I said I watched every single Nationals game, because I didn't, right? We know what Soto's capable of, but watching him, legitimately locked in, watching him for consecutive games, seeing what he did spring training, and then seeing what he did this weekend, he's such a special player to watch. The way that he approaches every single pitch, approaches every single at-bat. I mean, his at-bats are amazing. He does not waste a single pitch. He uses all fields. So, you know, foul pole to foul pole, he can hit anywhere. Right field, center field, left center, right center. Pull the ball, oppo. Anything you need from Juan Soto, he can do it. The guy is special. I mean, the attention to detail, the fact that he doesn't take a pitch off, how he works at bats, fouls pitches off. His eye is phenomenal. I mean, 99% of baseball players would swing at pitches that Juan Soto's laying off of, and that are balls. I mean, there is balls that are just off the corner that he's laying off of that, like I said, 99% of baseball players would swing at. Like, that's how good his eye is. Working counts, being able to walk, provides power, provides contact, and the biggest thing of them all, he steps up in big moments. This isn't a guy that's going to rack up hits in the early innings and, you know, provide big and blowouts. No, this is a guy that's going to do all of it. He's going to step up in the 9th inning against one of the best closers in the game in Josh Hader. He's going to work it to a 3-2 count. He's going to foul pitch off, and he's going to take a pitch high and outside and poke it in the left field and driving Gleyber Torres, which is exactly what he did yesterday, which brought up Clay Holmes in the 9th inning. Cardiac Clay, as many Yankee fans are kind of calling him now, which is spot on. The guy does not make anything easy. It's definitely gets your heart rate up watching Clay Holmes try and close out a game. But he got 3 saves over the 4 games, so you got to give him credit there. But big moments in these big games early in this season, this opening series, Juan Soto is huge. And that's what I think you like the most out of him. He's clutch. He's so clutch. And these at-bats in these big moments are phenomenal. They're special. Let's give you a number. First player since the expansion era, which was 1961, to have 3 go-ahead RBIs in three of first 4 games with the team. We saw history this weekend. On top of that, let's read more of Soto's numbers. 9 for 17, 1 home run, 2 runs scored, 4 RBIs, a .529 batting average, a .600 on base percentage, a .765 slugging, and a 1.365 OPS. You could not have drawn up a better weekend for the New York Yankees and for Juan Soto. The guy's a generational talent. He's special. And watching his ABs are amazing. It's amazing. And we have 158 more games to go. That's the beauty of 162. We get to watch this guy for 158 more games. And you saw him twist his ankle on Friday. You were a little concerned, right? As a Yankee fan, as a New York sports fan, we've gone through so much pain over the last year with all these injuries to superstars, right? Aaron Rodgers tearing his Achilles. Edwin Diaz tearing his Achilles at the World Baseball Classic. When you see Soto twist his ankle, get hurt, you could tell he was in pain. You're thinking to yourself as a Yankee fan, this was a guy that was one of 4 players last season to play 162 games. There is no way in game number 2 of the season he's hurt and he's going to miss time. You know, all the cynical fan inside of you enters your mind and all you start thinking is negativity. Like, no way. This guy plays every game. He went out there last season, played every game, and now in the second game he's hurt. But my point to all this is, twist his ankle, was a little beat up coming out of that Friday game. Didn't matter. He said, I'm out there Saturday night. I'm going to be out there in the lineup. Doesn't matter. I'm going to play through it. And he did, and he stepped up in a big way again. Got a homer on Saturday night first in a Yankee uniform to the Crawford boxes, Oppo Taco for Juan Soto. And I got to give Aaron Boone a lot of credit as well for this series because, this was a guy that we've all crushed Aaron Boone a lot, and rightfully so. Some of his decision-making has been brutal since his time as the Yankee manager, right? The playoff success is not there. We all get it. But I thought Aaron Boone was very, very good this weekend. I thought the fact that after Gleyber Torres got hit, it looked like it wasn't great. X-rays came back negative, which was all good. If that was last year, Gleyber Torres would have been out of the lineup the next day. You also look at, would have been out of the lineup on Friday. You also look at Juan Soto as well with the ankle. If that was last year, Soto would have been out of the lineup. On top of that, yesterday, when the Yankees already had the series win, right? They already won the series. Even if they lost that game, they still take 3 of 4. You still would walk out of this series feeling good about where this team's headed. If this was last year, they would have rolled out a punt lineup. They probably would have rolled out, a Trent Grisham. They would have rolled out a lot of backups. John Birdie, maybe kept Oswaldo out of there, right? I know Volpe getting hurt, which kind of forced Oswaldo in the lineup, but they would have probably played a lot of backups, sat a lot of players, a punt lineup, just you already won the series. No need to go out there and risk anything more. Give a couple guys a day off here and roll into Monday against Arizona. We didn't see that against the Yankees. We saw a very good lineup. We did not see a lineup full of depth guys. We saw a lineup that was more than capable of winning a baseball game. Last year, you see lineups when the Yankees already won series that were punt lineups. Getaway day, they already took 2 or 3 against a team or they would already have won the series. They would roll out a lineup that, you're not serious about winning. And they would lose the game, but they still won the series. And that's the way the Yankees rolled. This year, that's different. That's different. They wanted to sweep. They got greedy. And that's got to be the mindset the rest of the way. I really liked how Aaron Boone handled this weekend. I'll admit, I really did. Like you guys know me on this show. I'm going to crush, when it deserves criticism, I'm going to criticize somebody. When they deserve praise, I'm going to praise them. I react in the moment. And I'll admit, Thursday, when that game started and the Yankees were down 4-0, and they grounded into 3 double plays in 4 innings, and they left the bases loaded twice, I was thinking to myself, this is the same thing as last year. This is 2023 all over again. I was in that moment, because that's the beauty of opening day. I said it yesterday on my series recap show. That's the beauty of opening day. Opening weekend. No matter what your expectations are, no matter how good your roster is, everybody has the chance to start the season 1-0. Everybody has a chance to start the season with a series win. Start the season on a high note, right? No matter what your record is, everybody has that chance. So opening day, you're going to overreact, good or bad. If you win opening day, it's, 162-0. Oh, we're winning the World Series. This was great. This was great. If you lose opening day, it's, we stink. We're not making the playoffs. And that, I think, what a lot of Yankee fans thought. Like, in that moment, you see all these double plays and you see all these runners left on base, you're thinking to yourself, oh, my gosh, is this happening again? Are we witnessing 2023 all over again? And then the Yankees end up calling back. Credit to Nestor Cortez. Didn't have his best stuff. Worked out of trouble. Left. It was minimal damage. He kept the damage to an amount where the Yankees were able to come back and, of course, win that game. He let up 4 runs. Nestor's got to be better, but I give him credit. I respect him for going out there, fighting through it, giving them, after the first 2 innings, giving them 3 scoreless, giving them some length, handing it over to the bullpen. He kept them somewhere within reach. And the rest of the offense ended up waking up. They obviously were really good. This lineup is deep. You see guys 1 through 9 with the ability to put together good at-bats, get on base, move guys over. Like, we saw this weekend the Yankees score runs, consistent runs with base hits, singles. Like, Soto yesterday was 3 for 4 with singles, or 3 for 5, I believe, with all singles, right? And he drove in runs. That big run in the 9th, right, was a single. Like, the Yankees, base hits, contact, that approach we saw from the Yankees this weekend. Forever now, it's been, runner on second, swing for the fence, go for a 2-run homer, solo home run. Like, we saw runners on base, getting runners in, putting together good at-bats, walking with the bases loaded. None of this other nonsense we saw last year because this lineup's much deeper. This lineup is much more disciplined. They added pieces. They added a approach that this team desperately needed, which was contact and being able to work good at bats, being able to get on base. And we saw that this weekend from this team. And then the craziest part of this all is Aaron Judge and Gleyber Torres were non-factors this weekend. Judge hit 125, Gleyber Torres hit 133. If you would have told me Judge and Gleyber hit 125 and 133, I probably would have said, oh, they probably lost the series or at best split. But no, they won the series. They swept the series because this is a different team. This team's got dogs, as Alex Verdugo said. Love that quote. Put it on a shirt. This team's got dogs. This team's got guys 1 through 9 that can make plays and pick up big hits in big spots. You got to be fired up if you're a New York Yankee fan. Judge hasn't even gotten going. We're without Garrett Cole. Jason Dominguez will be back in the summer. Gleyber Torres didn't get going. Like, this team just swept the Houston Astros with not even close to full strength, not even close to everybody producing at a high level, right? You know, even Volpe yesterday was out of the lineup. They still found a way to get a win. And Volpe was very good this weekend. He went 4 for 10, hit 400 with a double and a home run. So I thought Volpe's at-bats were great. I thought Volpe on opening day looked miles better than what we saw last season. They know how to approach Volpe. They know how to attack him. Out and away, out and away. He's going to swing at it. And he laid off a lot of those pitches. Makes it a lot difficult for pitchers. It's tough to navigate this lineup. Once Judge gets going, you get Cole back into the fold. I know we're thinking ahead, and you want to take a game by game. That's the beauty of 162, right? Games every single night. You got to watch it. Just enjoy every single game. Enjoy the victories. Enjoy, it's the highs and lows. It's all of 162. That's the beauty of it, right? You don't want to rush time too much. But when you think ahead and you think of where this team is at right now, 4-0, and what they did this weekend against a really good baseball team that has had their number for years, and you think about who they did it and who they did it with and who they did it without, and what they can do when it's full strength, when they have Garrett Cole, when Aaron Judge starts hitting, when Gleyber gets in the mix, when you have a leadoff hitter, potentially a Jason Dominguez. Imagine a Jason Dominguez, Soto, Judge top 3. And Gleyber in the 6-7 hole hitting 260, 270. Just imagine that. I mean, that has all the makings for a special season. So a lot to like this weekend from the Yankees. You got to be fired up. Now, you go over to the Mets. Also, credit to the bullpen as well. The bullpen was very good this weekend. 15 1/3. Ian Hamilton is nasty. I think he's arguably the best pitcher in this bullpen. Good for Nick Birdie. He picked up his first win since 2019, so a cool story there. Good for him. Both birdies. John Birdie yesterday with an RBI. Nick Birdie doing some good things out of the bullpen. So a lot to like. Caleb Ferguson as well. Got some big outs yesterday midway through that game. So I thought the bullpen was really good. Oswaldo Cabrera was fantastic. And that's another thing, too, I think what Soto brings is just his locker room presence. Even Marcus Stroman said it, who I give major props for. Marcus Stroman, Carlos Rodon, 2 guys that were dominant, 2 guys that were great. I should say, I thought Rodon was solid. I thought Stroman was very good. 2 good starts for them that needed it. Obviously, Rodon wants to get off on the right foot. Same thing with Stroman. Stroman in Yankee debut. Rodon, obviously, coming off of last season, wanted to get off to a good start. Thought he was good. Thought Clark was good. I thought the worst of the weekend was Nestor. I mean, and that's not crushing Nestor. It's just the way it is. I thought Nestor, I give him credit for battling, but he wasn't great. We all know that. Either way, to the point of to the point of going back to the hitting, Oswaldo was fantastic. And just on top of that, like the Soto effect does not only resonate on the field, but it's off the field. This is a guy that we saw last season, or this is a guy that we've seen throughout spring dominate. And a guy that we're seeing players like look up to, kind of being shocked that he's on this team and he's doing what he's doing. Stroman said how when he's a grandfather, he's going to be telling his grandkids he played with this guy. Like, that's how much he resonates. And Oswaldo as well talked about how he watched him in the cage and saw what he did and took a lot of that. And Oswaldo's fantastic from the left side. Never bat again from the right. Just keep going left for Oswaldo. He was excellent this weekend. Give him a lot of credit. Last year was really bad. This season so far, 7 for 16, 2 home runs, 3 runs scored, 6 RBIs, 438 batting average, 471 on base percentage, 875 slugging, 1.346 OPS. Oswaldo said how watching Soto in the cage, seeing how his attention to detail, how he takes it each pitch by pitch, how he spreads the field, able to hit it really foul pole to foul pole. Just having that ability. And he looked up to that. He saw his approach. He took a lot of pointers from him. And look at what we saw out of Oswaldo. So, on the field, off the field, the Soto effect is in full effect. I guess if that's the best way to put it. He was awesome. And combined, Oswaldo and Soto were great. Combined, they went 16 for 33, 3 home runs, 5 runs scored, 10 RBIs, 44 batting average. So, all in all, a great weekend, a perfect weekend. There really was no negatives from this weekend. A perfect weekend for the New York Yankees. And now you go to Arizona to face the Diamondbacks. Luis Gil will get the ball tonight against Ryan Nelson. And then back to the top of the rotation where Nestor will get it Tuesday. You'll then get Rodon Wednesday. And then Friday will be the opening, or the first game, home opener, I should say. I was about to say opening day. Home opener against the Toronto Blue Jays. And Marcus Stroman will make his pinstripe debut. Will make his Yankee Stadium debut. And that stadium should be electric for the entire homestand, for the Blue Jays series, and, of course, the Marlins then come to town after that series on Monday. So, a lot to like from the Yankees. You go across town to Queens to Citi Field, and it was I guess if you want to say, a drama-filled weekend. A lot of things happened in this series. If you saw the headlines from this series, you probably would have thought, it was probably a good series, a series where maybe the Brewers won 2 of 3, but it was competitive and a lot of good things and a lot of excitement, and that really wasn't the case. The Mets got swept. I'll be honest, right off the bat, look, I thought that this Mets team would look a whole lot better than they did this weekend. I thought the Mets looked awful. I'll be honest. I saw pretty much every pitch from the Mets this weekend. I watched pretty much every single pitch, the way the Yankees and the Mets games lined up. Mets played 3-day games. Of course, the Yankees played 3 games at night. Now, yesterday's game, I will admit, I went back, watched highlights of the Mets game, saw a little bit of the Mets game before the Yankees came on. But the first 2 games of the series, the Mets were poor. I thought Saturday they looked better. Their bats came alive late, but not good enough. They had 2 games where they scored 1 run. This was probably about the complete polar opposite of opening weekends that you could have imagined. The Yankees going into Houston and getting a sweep of the Astros, and then the Mets getting swept. The complete opposite. One team getting a sweep, one team getting swept. Like I said, I don't think you could have drawn up a worse way to start the season for the New York Mets, where you get a benches clearing brawl. You get the issue with McNeil and Rhys Hoskins. Hoskins goes out, then puts together a good rest of the series. The Mets end up getting swept. Their bats don't really come alive except for a couple innings late in that game on Saturday where they scored 4 runs in the 8th and the 9th, 3 runs in the 8th, 1 run in the 9th to make it a 7-6 game to make it interesting. But all in all, it was not good enough. The Mets in this game scored 8 runs in 3 days. You take away what they did Saturday, and they got outscored 7-1, or 7-2 rather, on Friday and Sunday. Friday, they had 1 hit. It was a Starling Marte home run. Yesterday, they did have 7 hits. They got some runners on. Couldn't get anybody in. The Brewers were just better. And the Brewers, too. This is a Brewers team that is not supposed to be great. They made the Brewers look perfect this weekend. The Brewers shut them down in many different facets. The Mets are awful. 8 runs in 3 games, 2.66 runs per game. Like I said, I went into this season and thought the Mets would be a frisky team, would be a team that would fight for a playoff spot. I don't think they would end up. I didn't think they'd actually make the playoffs. My prediction was not to make the playoffs. But again, it is 3 games, right? Anything can happen. They've still got 159 more games to go. The season is just starting. So I'm not saying that the season's not over. But I thought they would look a whole lot better than what they looked this weekend, where their bats were quiet. They didn't get many big hits. They didn't really have many big spots. Friday was 1 run, 1 hit by Starling Marte. That was it. Their only real rally was, I believe, they had a walk, and then there was a stolen base or a pass ball, I think it was. Runner went to second. That was their only real rally in that game. It was we got a runner on second. This is great. Other than that, Non-existent. And I'll get right to it here. The biggest problem with the Mets this weekend was their big bats did not show up. Their big bats did not show up. Now, Alonso did. Alonso looked good. Marte, I thought, was solid. Alvarez was fantastic. But other than that, Brandon Nimmo, Francisco Lindor, and Jeff McNeil all had one hit. Combined, those three guys had 3 hits. 3 hits. This team is not going to win baseball games if Brandon Nimmo, Francisco Lindor, and Jeff McNeil walk out of series with 1 hit each. They had 3 hits combined between the 3 of them. Nimmo comes out of this batting 0.77. Lindor, .083. McNeil, .091. Both of these, all 3 of these players, under a 100 batting average, which is awful, atrocious, terrible. You're not going to win baseball games. You're not going to win series. You're not going to be competitive this year if those 3 guys don't hit. You know, Alonso I thought was okay. I thought he probably could have made a couple of those plays at first. He had like those 2 plays diving that he could have made. But look, Alonso, his strength is in his defense. Marte, I thought, got off to a solid start considering what we saw last season. He went 3 for 10. You know, Alonso was 4 for 10 with a home run. Or I apologize. Yeah, 4 for 10 with a home run. 4 for 11, actually. Alvarez was the big takeaway from this weekend. Went 5 for 10 with a home run and 2 RBIs. Francisco Alvarez is, look, when the top guys didn't hit, right, you had the Hoskins incident, which we'll get to here in a little bit. The pitching I thought was all right. I thought Friday and Saturday was okay, or Friday and Sunday was okay. I thought Quintana and McGill were fine. Sevy was atrocious. Mets fans got the full Severino experience. The first inning Severino experience. He can't get out of the first inning. Sevy's terrible. Alvarez is a stud. He's a stud. And that's one thing I think you got to take away if you're a Met fan is what Francisco Alvarez was able to do this weekend. You know, the future at your catcher. And look, Alvarez continues this. He's going to be one of the best catchers in baseball. You can already make the case he is one of the better catchers in baseball offensively. Just what he's able to do comes out of this weekend, of course, batting .500. You know, I think for a Met fan, you know, you still need JD Martinez, obviously. He'll get into the fold eventually here. Of course, while you want to win games, if you see progress out of the young guys and you see good things out of Alvarez, you know, even Beatty had the 3-run homer, which I don't think many Mets fans probably expected to have that on their bingo card this weekend, but it happened, right? If you see good things out of young guys, you continue to see good things out of Alvarez, you at least got to try and take those W's. You have to take those as wins. And hopefully, as a team, they start winning more games from a Met perspective. But I mean, that whole, you know, the whole Met, all these Met fans talking about, you know, Juan Soto's going to be a Met next year. I don't think Juan Soto wants anything to do with the Mets after seeing what they did this weekend. And then seeing what the Yankees did as well. So, not a good weekend for the Mets, like I mentioned. Now, you go to the whole Rhys Hoskins incident. You know, you get the slide in second base. You have the whole new second base rule. Now, Hoskins does have a history of doing this with McNeil from his time in Philly. So, I guess it's not too much of a surprise. You know, the two bark at each other. They start yelling at each other like typical bench brawls. There's usually no real fighting. It's a whole lot of talking. No guy actually throws a punch. There's not a whole lot of balls. It's a whole lot of, you know, just kind of, you know, the crying face, you know, McNeil yelling at him, blowing F-bombs at him, all that stuff. Oh, you're a loser, this and that. It's the typical baseball stuff. Not like hockey where you actually get the guys throwing fists at each other. Now, when you look at what happened after that, you have Yohan Ramirez obviously throwing behind Hoskins. He gets ejected. He gets suspended 3 games. Mendoza also got suspended a game. I'm not too surprised. I mean, look, they could say all they want that it wasn't intentional. It was intentional. And I think if you're Hoskins, while, you know, He did get thrown at, and while he did have that one moment yesterday with the bases loaded where he ended up grounding out, Hoskins kind of shut them up a little bit. He went out there and did let his play do the talking. I thought Hoskins actually put together a solid weekend. He put together some good at-bats, had some big hits, hit 273 walking out of there. This is also a guy that's coming off a torn, I believe it was torn ACL last season. So a guy that missed all of last year with an injury. Hoskins led the team coming out of this weekend with 4 RBIs. He did a lot more than McNeil. I think the Mets, out of this weekend, who won the battle, who won the actual fight, the bench clearing brawl? It was Hoskins. Hoskins stepped up in a big way, got some big hits, got 4 RBIs, and his team walks out of there with a sweep. From a Met perspective, Jeff McNeil had 1 hit. They had a pitcher get suspended, and they had Mendoza get suspended as well. So on top of the fact with that, on top of the actual performance, you could not have drawn up a worse way for the Mets to start their 2024 season. And now the Tigers come to town to face the Mets starting tonight. You'll get Reese Olson on the mound versus Sean Manaea, who will make his Met debut. Detroit Tigers, one of 4 teams undefeated, as I talked about earlier. Yankees, Brewers, and Pirates, the other 3. Now, the Tigers did play the White Sox, who are one of the worst teams in baseball, so we'll see what happens. But the Mets, it's early in the season, but I don't think this is, look, you can never call these games must-wins, right? You're 3 games into the season, but if the New York Mets walk out of this weekend 1-5, and they walk out of this first homestand of the season at 1-5, I think if you're a Met fan, you've got to not only feel terrible, but you have to feel a little hopeless. Because then after that, you got to face the Reds, and then there is that 4-game set against the Braves. The Reds are winnable, they're beatable, but then there's that 4-game set against the Braves in Atlanta. There's a good chance that if the New York Mets don't find a way to win one of these next 2 series, you could be staring at, let's say you lose 2 of the next 3, the next 2 series, you could be staring at like a 3-10, 4-11 start after you walk out of Atlanta. Because you have a 4-game set in Atlanta that starts next Monday, a week from today. You go into that series going 2-4 against the Tigers and the Reds, and you go into that series 3-7 or 2-7. Good chance you're walking out of that series probably 3-10. That's awful. That's awful. So, the schedule makers, then you have the Royals, then you have the Pirates who've been good, then you have the Dodgers, the Giants, the Cardinals, the Cubs to close out the month. That Braves series is not good. That Braves series is very inconvenient for the Mets. To start the season, you're already struggling, and then you look up, and in a week from now, you already got to go to Atlanta to play 4 games. You're going to, it could get ugly early. It could get ugly fast. Getting swept is not the good way to start. So, Mets got to find a way to turn things around. As I mentioned with the Yankees, they'll be back in action tonight against the Diamondbacks. Both teams, Yankees open up a 3-game set against the D-backs. Luis Gil on the mound versus Ryan Nelson. As I mentioned for the Mets, it's Reese Olson versus Sean Manaea. He'll make his Met debut. And a ton of other baseball as well. Unfortunately for me, I lost fantasy baseball this weekend by 1. So not necessarily a good way to start there. Of course, March Madness, as I mentioned, those games are all set. DJ Burns, what a story he's been from NC State. Their big man, 6'9", 275, taking college basketball by storm right now. Put up 29 points yesterday on 68% shooting. He's been an excellent story. NC State's been a great story. This was a team that was losing to Louisville late in the first game of the ACC tournament, rather. They went on a run, won 5 games, went 5 days in a row, won the ACC tournament, and now here they are in the Final Four. What a story they've been. They will face Purdue. UConn will get Alabama. So that'll be a lot of fun. Hope you enjoyed it. A lot more content coming your way. We will have daily podcasts here on the program. Every single day this week, we'll be talking all things New York sports, so stay tuned. A lot more content coming your way. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.